Okay, Eric, it's our Bond episode. So I figure we make a few things about Bond. Let's figure out what your Bond girl name is, and what your Bond villain name is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Let's start with your Bond villain name. I know your name is Eric Hare. I know you're a male.
Yes.
Now, do you want a modern name or a Fleming name?
Probably a Fleming name. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a better way to go. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay. So your Bond villain name is Professor Christoph Reinhardt.
Christoph Reinhardt. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. I like it.
We
could work with it.
What's your evil? In your lair is Coco Loco cell. A heavily guarded cell inside Coco Loco, a Panamanian maximum security prison.
Okay. I could see that.
I can see that too. All right, let's try Darren Simple. I'll go with a modern name since you went Fleming. I also got the Coco Loco cell, so we're working together. But my evil name is Professor Mario Le Tesserier. Doesn't
sounds like you're in charge.
Doesn't roll off the tongue though. Yeah. Who got my name wrong? Okay, and then for your Bond girl name, because we both make very good Bond girl names.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, this is from one of my favorite shows. This is like the best YouTube hole you can go down. The Graham Norton Show. Yeah. Is your grandmother's maiden name.
Okay.
Your grandmother's maiden name and the nickname that you had for your junk as a kid. So we probably should mention a few Bond girl names, and Bond girl names were very
unique. Well, they're very clear. They're very clear as to what they're thinking. Yeah.
Like Strawberry Fields is one.
Yes.
That's not even a dirty one, but
right.
Some of the ones from the old Bond movies, like I'm sorry, it's podcast brain. I can't think of
well, the one from Goldfinger is Pussy Galore.
Pussy Galore. Sounds like my early 20s. So
right.
It's just like,
what's the other one? Dr. Christmas from was it the one with Pierce Brosnan? I can't remember what that one was, but
yeah. All I can think is the Austin Powers ones. Like
a lot of
Ivana Humpalot. Excuse me.
And a lot of.
I also
vagina.
like to hump a lot. What is Famke Janssen's from Goldeneye? It's
on a top.
On a top.
Yeah.
Hope you're on a top of things, James.
Yeah.
Okay, so your Bond girl name, your grandmother's maiden name is?
Pomeroy.
Okay. Mine's Williams. So let me write this down. Williams. And Pomeroy?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have a nickname for your junk as a kid?
I just Dick is pretty much all I called it. So
okay, Dick Pomeroy.
Slightly embarrassing.
I
didn't have anything.
I honestly, Dick Pomeroy sounds like a detective name. So
it actually, it's fresh.
Mine was Scotty, so I named it after Cyclops, Scott Summers. Scotty Williams.
Scotty doesn't know.
Pretty boring Bond girl name.
Scotty doesn't know that it's you and me.
Scotty really
in my van every Sunday.
Scotty really didn't know as a kid. So thanks, Eric, for letting me embarrass you and myself a little bit there.
Yes.
And with that, let's play that song. Welcome, nerds, to another episode of the Nerd Rundown podcast, where we cover the latest in the nerd world of movies, TV, and more. I'm your host, Darren Stemple, and with me today is my co-pilot, Eric Hare.
Hello.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening in. We always appreciate it. You can find us on social media at the Nerd Rundown and listen to our podcasts on all the major podcast services. As always, we have a fantastic show for you all where we'll cover the latest on the rundown, and then we'll pay tribute with the release this week of No Time to Die. We'll pay tribute to one of, if not the greatest Bond of all time in Daniel Craig's James Bond.
Arguably.
Going through his,
arguably.
As Dwight Schrute would say, that's debatable.
That's debatable.
But We'll go through his movie slate as James Bond and talk about each one of his movies and why we like it or love it or think it needs to be put in the trash. And then we'll cap off the show with the Nerd Box. We actually have a special surprise right before the Nerd Box that we'll get to. But with that, let's get started on the rundown with first thing on the rundown. The Book of Boba Fett lands a late 2021 premiere date.
Yes.
It's December 29th on Disney
Yes.
Plus. Cannot wait for this. What do you think we're going to see in this TV show, Eric?
Well, I have heard just from the rumor mill that this is kind of a Mandalorian season 2.5, is kind of what I've heard. So I think there's a lot of Mandalorian stuff in this. Kind of
and
setting
when you say
up.
Mandalorian, do you mean Din Djarin or just Mandalorian?
Yeah, well, I think that the cast from, or at least some of the characters from Mandalorian will be in this, so I think it's kind of a continuation. But we'll see. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how they somewhat redeem, if they even try to redeem, I guess, the Boba Fett character, because he was not a good guy, so, and he was a bounty hunter and he was a jerk off, he just was not a good dude, but his armor was so cool. Like, everybody just loved the armor. Everybody loved the thing. So he was, he's got a long legacy of being a pretty BA guy, and stuff. So
even as a kid, he was a little prick. He would be like, that look he gave Obi-Wan when he first met Obi-Wan, he was like,
right, yeah,
shut up, you little kid.
Yeah, right, yeah. so I don't know. We'll see. His dad obviously was.
Oh, you said obviously.
He was. His dad was the template for all the clones and stuff. So it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. I'm less so, based on how they've done with the Mandalorian to this point. I'm less nervous about it than I was when I found out they were doing the Mandalorian, and after the Star Wars, crap hole that they did. So watching the Mandalorian, I'm less nervous about how they're going to go with Boba Fett. So I think it'll turn out just fine. So
here's the synopsis, right? So it says, the Book of Boba Fett, a thrilling Star Wars adventure, finds legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett and mercenary Fennec Shand, played by Ming-Na Wen, who you saw in the Mandalorian series.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
She was his right-hand woman. Fennec Shand navigating the galaxy's underworld, which I'm very excited to see. When they return to the sands of Tatooine to stake their claim on the territory once ruled by Jabba the Hutt and his crime syndicate. So that would be really cool. It sounds like that picks up right from right at the end of season 2 when he took over Jabba's crime syndicate organization.
Right.
But I also thought I heard that it's going to show the run up to Boba Fett's return in The Mandalorian. So we'll see where, what happened to him after he got out of the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
And how he, even from the Empire, I think it actually goes back to The Empire Strikes Back before he fell into the Sarlacc pit. But this synopsis does not hint towards that. So we'll see where it goes. I'm very excited. I think he was a great addition to season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I know there used to be a planned Star Wars TV show called Underworld, which was going to show just like the ground level Star Wars stuff. So I think that maybe we'll get some of that in this show and expand the universe even more. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Jon Favreau's executive producing as well as Dave Filoni. So I think it's in good hands.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, I agree.
Cool. Next on the rundown is number 2, The Harder They Fall trailer released. And I know you know a lot about number 2s, Eric. But this trailer was really good. I really enjoyed it. This is a throwback to Westerns. It's what I really like about it is it looks like a fun Western. That's really this trailer, I think, showcased the fun that we will have in watching this movie. An incredible cast. Starting with Idris Elba, Regina King, the man of the year so far, Jonathan Majors.
Yep.
Lakeith Stanfield, who you may know from movies Get Out and
Sicario.
Sicario, yeah, and what's the detective one with James Bond?
The Knives Out.
Knives Out, yeah. Mm-hmm. Zazie Beetz, who you know from a few things, mainly Deadpool 2 and the Joker movie.
Yeah.
It brings back Delroy Lindo, who we haven't seen in a while. I'm looking for
one of my favorite actors of all time, Delroy Lindo, who is
criminally
underrated as an actor.
So underrated, yeah.
He's just a tremendous talent. So
I loved him.
Big fan.
I loved him in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, he was so great. He was so great in that movie.
So great. Yeah. His relationship with Timothy Olyphant.
So good. Yeah.
So
good. Yep.
Yep. So really looking forward to this. It comes out on Netflix November 3rd. And we're not just a superhero podcast, we're a movie podcast. And this looks like a return to some really good movie making. And just some they're like, all right, everybody, just be as charismatic as you possibly can.
Right. Yeah.
This looks like,
at least from the trailers, it's like mission accomplished on that because they really are just it just is really, really good. So really good.
Yep. Looking forward to it. Go out and check out that trailer because it was a really fun trailer. Good music, good action. Next on the rundown, we have Spider-Man director John Watts. He's directing the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
He's got a new untitled thriller starring George Clooney and Brad Pitt landing on Apple Plus. And why this is significant is because John Watts is a seemingly up and coming director in the world. He, like I said, he's directing the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, so he's got some fame through that. But also he's been tapped to helm the Fantastic Four movie for Marvel Studios. So Kevin Feige is a big fan of this guy if he's handing him a full-on MCU project.
Yeah.
And then you got guys like George Clooney and Brad Pitt signing up to be in one of his movies where he's going to direct, write, and produce the movie, John Watts is.
Yeah.
And George and Brad will executive produce from their own production companies like they always do. But This is really like a good sign for John Watts, that he's getting movies with talent like this.
For sure.
The only story details we have is the entitled thriller will follow two lone wolf fixers played by Clooney and Pitt, who find themselves assigned to the same job. So kind of maybe matching those two up against each other instead of, I'm sure they'll team up by the end of the movie, and
Yeah, right.
they'll probably make out too by the end of the movie. But
yeah, who knows?
But
they have great chemistry together. So
exactly, yeah. Ocean's series, and they're I think they're good friends. So it's it's exciting to see John Watts get some notoriety like this and become a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. I'm really looking forward to it as my dog barks.
Yeah, no, they have good they have great chemistry with each other, and with Major starting to get more and more responsibility handed over to him, I think he's proven himself to be a pretty good talent. And I just think we'll get a lot of really great stories out of him, kind of going forward. And with that cast, it's helpful too. So, but yeah,
looking forward to it.
Yep. All right, Marnie.
Yeah, Marnie, get freaking out over people in the house. Next on the rundown, this is really good news. I want every comic book movie to succeed. So Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage was released this weekend, and I've had countless people text me this weekend asking me if I've seen it, when am I going to see it. It's really good. I need to talk about it on the podcast and say that I will. I need to admit that I'm wrong. I'm like, I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know if I'm wrong, but some people that I highly respect have texted me, and to include Brett. Brett, part-time host on the show, is like, you need to go watch this because it's pretty awesome, and it's got a mid-credit scene that makes it all just alone worth it. So looking forward to it. Funny enough, the Rotten Tomatoes.
Have you watched the first one yet?
I haven't watched the first one yet, so I'm going to have to watch the first one before I watch this. But
so if this one is as good as others say it is, again, I haven't seen it either. There would be two back-to-backs on this series where everybody had expectations that were pretty low for the first one. And then I think everybody watched it and was like, wow, this is surprisingly good,
Right.
and then they make a sequel and everybody's like, but they're not gonna be able to catch lightning in a bottle twice. There's just no way. And then now everybody's like, dude, this is really good. So it's like, people keep underrating this franchise, more and more. And I mean, I'll admit, I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, I don't know if, the first one was good, but I don't know if the second one will be as good. So hopefully, I mean, I'm cool. So
I'm a big fan of Carnage. I've talked about that in the past, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Venom and Carnage fight each other.
Yeah.
And whatever this mid-credit scene is, it's supposed to be really good. So the Rotten Tomatoes score is 59%, which that's critics.
Who cares?
Who cares?
That actually means I'll probably like it.
It tends to work that way. And then the audience scores 86%. So the fans are loving it.
Yeah, that's all that matters to me. Like I could care less about the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's the fan score that I'm always more interested in, because I trust people. I trust the general population more than I trust, the average critic. So
absolutely. So that's a good segue to the next thing, is the No Time to Die Rotten Tomatoes score, which will lead us into our special segment. No Time to Die Rotten Tomatoes score, last I checked, was at 91%, which is great. And the audience score was even higher than that. So it hasn't been fully released. I mean, that's more just people who have seen the pre-screening. So again, people who see pre-screenings are usually a little bit higher than what it turns out to be. But it's getting really great reviews. It's saying it's the most complete James Bond movie It's also the longest James Bond movie.
I was going to say it is the longest James Bond movie ever made. So 2.5 hours, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe a little more than that. So
yeah. So yeah, which is fine. I mean,
it feels like a long movie, you know.
Yeah,
so if it's longer than Casino Royale, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it just depends on how long it takes you to tell the story, that you're wanting to tell. I don't think audiences are, there's certain audience people who go to see a movie that 90 minutes is their attention span. That's all you're going to get is 90 minutes from them, but the James Bond fan, it's usually a little more sophisticated fan. It's a little more, invested in that world and wants to see more of that world, and their attention span is much longer and can stay focused longer. So yeah.
What? Sorry, I lost my attention. Went away from you.
Yeah, right.
No.
You're the worst.
My attention span is 90 seconds at best. No, I cannot wait.
Get this little laser pointer for you. I just here, over here, Darren, over there.
Yeah, it's. I cannot wait for this movie. I've waited now a year and a half for it, as it was supposed to release around my birthday. Around our birthday, actually, a year and a half ago. So, looking forward to it. It gives us a chance to kind of talk about it before we get into the James Bond segment, where we talk about the other Daniel Craig movies.
Right.
But before we do that, I want to give a little bit of cred to the previous Bond stuff that came before Daniel Craig, and we've talked a bit about Bond on this show. It's one of our favorite franchises. If I have a whole poster, on my movie wall, it means I'm a pretty big fan of James Bond. I own all the James Bond movies, and it's just something about James Bond is something that I think as a nerd, it's hard not to love. It gives us the chance to suspend our disbelief and put our nerdness into a character that we all wish we could be at some point,
Right.
So, you got George Lazenby, but Sean Connery is the original James Bond and an incredible Bond. He took a break and then came back. Did one movie after that or two?
Yeah. So he did 5 movies total, I think. And then took a break, and Lazenby came back. Lazenby came in. George Lazenby did on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then
which is a really good one,
right? And then Connery came back with Diamonds Are Forever. I think he did that one, and then retired again. And that's when Roger Moore took the character. Mm-hmm. And then he ran with it all the way into the 90s, late 80s. And then that's when Timothy Dalton came in for his 2. And then they ran into some they ran into some licensing issues because the original producer of the series passed away. And so there was a legal battle that cost them many years of not being able to figure out where to go with the character and who actually could go forward with making the character. And so by the time that got resolved, Timothy decided that he was too old to continue with the role. And so then they recast it into the person that a lot of people felt he should have been cast before Dalton was cast. A lot of people were not happy with Timothy Dalton's casting. They thought that Pierce Brosnan should have been James Bond from the very beginning, and maybe so, but he had his own TV show that he was working on, and then moved into so Pierce Brosnan appeared in GoldenEye for his first one, and what started out with a lot of promise, where we thought we were going to get more Connery. We got more Roger Moore, as the series kind of went on, it just became campier and campier. And, and then, and thank God, I honestly, I have to say, thank God for Mike Myers.
He definitely
because
deserves a spot in
he
this.
really does deserve a spot in the James Bond lore, because he took the absurdity of some of these James Bond movies and just dialed it up to like 10, like the villains, he dialed up the villain, he dialed up, the gadgetry and all this different stuff, and just made it just panned, and really just did a fantastic job, and I think it really made James Bond better, because I think they looked at those satire stuff and they were like, we need to get back to something what it originally
Right.
started out as, what it originally started with, like Connery. So then when you get Daniel Craig, you don't get any gadgets in Casino Royale. There's no gadgets. There's no gadgetry. In fact, even up to this point, there's no real gadgetry in any of the movies. Not anything like there was in some of the other ones.
Even in Skyfall, when they reintroduced Q,
right,
it gives them a little box, and it's a little itty bitty radio like this, like transmitter, like this
right,
big, and a fingerprint gun. Like
yes, yeah,
that's the Aston Martin makes a return to the Bond series and in the Daniel Craig series, and that has more gadgets than really anything else.
Yeah. But I mean, even the gadgets weren't really anything big. I mean, and the glove box in Casino Royale, I guess the only piece of technology is it's a defibrillator it's in the glove box, and it's like, okay, like, and then they also had,
and thank goodness for that.
Yeah, right. They had a defib, and then they also had a shot, a quick gun thing for getting drugs into the system. And I'm like, what, if you're going to put a spy out in the field, that sounds like decent kit to put in there, but there's nothing. There's no flying car or no submarine car, like the Aston doesn't turn into a submarine and all of a sudden,
wings don't fly out of it, and it takes off.
Yeah. So I really do credit. I think there's a tremendous amount of credit that probably goes to Mike Myers making it so absurd that they had to really go, okay, we need to rethink this and get it back to where it needed to be. And Daniel Craig was the right guy to do that. I mean, he really brought a seriousness back to the character that I think was important. So,
and that's and I'll even credit Jason Bourne in there, because when the Bourne Identity came out, a certain type of action was born, no pun intended, in Hollywood, and it fit the Bond series as well, or it fit this new Bond. And so with that, the release of Casino Royale in 2006, we had a blonde Bond for the first time. That was a big
a lot of people were upset about
that.
Yeah, because that's not how Fleming's character was described. He had to be this,
And I get, like, I'm a guy who's like, I like comic accuracy in my movies, and I get it, but the color of the hair has nothing to do with the personality of James Bond.
Right.
And so I didn't mind that at all. And with a new Bond, you get a new makeover anyway. So it's I think it fit perfectly. Anyway, Casino Royale comes out. It's directed by Martin Campbell, who relaunched the Pierce Brosnan Bond with Goldeneye. So he's got some Bond cred, and he launches this new Bond with a movie that is a roller coaster ride. It's lots of action in the beginning, and then kind of a flat line of just some exposition and character building and character introductions, and then action. It ramps up the action at certain times. They have a 45-minute, part of the movie that's the card game, but that's also intercut with action scenes. So it was very well done.
That opening sequence that they had, and having it, I think it's a great choice, artistic choice, to have the movie open in black and white. Yes. I think that was a great artistic choice to have it, and kind of a tip to the original Dr.
yeah.
No, was in black and white. And so he sits down with this guy. He's of course in the office in the dark, and
Yeah.
and the guy even goes, are the theatrics supposed to scare me, and all this, and
He's like,
everything.
he's meta. It's like really meta.
Right, yeah, and it's like the guy already is trying to play it down, like, look, you don't intimidate me, dude. So and then but then with the cut scenes of him in the bathroom, so you see this very calm Daniel Craig sitting in this office, and then the cut scenes of him having this have this fight. I mean, this visceral violent fight. You're introduced to, this is a serious James Bond, and then but you also are getting to understand that he's not a 00. He's not a 00 yet. He's just this guy. And so that was super cool, and then when he whacks the guy,
introduced it introduced the 2 rule, like you got to get
the
2 kills,
and the dude looks at him and he says he made you feel it, did he? And he goes, yeah. And then he goes, don't worry, the second will be, and then and then he undoes the slide and he's like, yes, considerably. The guy says something about it, it'll make it easier, and then he thumps him, and he's like, yeah, it's considerably easier. And then you're like, well, there he is, he's a 00. So
he's a 00. He's got his license to kill.
Yep.
And great introduction. Very, again, like he said, artistic choice to start it in black and white, and good tribute to that. And then, let's talk about the bad guy, because
Chief, played by our man.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yep.
He's an incredible Bond bad guy.
Yes.
And he's running a terrorist organization, and he's trying to get some funding for his terrorist organization through this card game, and pits him up against James, and man, he plays a perfect Bond villain. He's got a deformity, he bleeds through his eye.
Yeah.
So he's got that. He's got he's always in control kind of feel to his bad guy.
Yeah.
And man, he even has a scene where he tortures Bond.
Yes.
Which may be one of the hardest scenes in any movie to watch, when he's throwing that rope under the chair, and I'd just be like, just kill me, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
And Bond even likes it at some point.
Yeah.
Masochist he is. But I love Le Chiffre. The one thing I didn't like about Le Chiffre is it wasn't Bond who took him out. It ends up being Mr. White, who ends up being part of the Spectre organization. And in the moment, like watching it, I was like, oh, I don't like that. But then I guess as they kind of expand the story of Spectre throughout the movies, you understand why it was Mr. White, or why it was Spectre that offed Le Chiffre. So still, I wish it would have been Bond.
Yeah. I think Casino Royale is really great because it introduced us to a couple of characters that turn out to be, stick around for a little while. So you do get Mr. White as the real protagonist in the overall, I wouldn't say overall series, but at least through several films. He's
antagonist?
Antagonist. And then you have you get introduced to Jeffrey Wright as the CIA operative Felix Leiter, who from the older Bond films, Felix always popped up from time to time, usually when James needed him. And then Mathis, the guy who plays Mathis, Giancarlo Giannini, he is a tremendous talent, so he does a really good job in the couple of places that he's in there, and then of course
Eva Green.
You have Eva Green, who is just amazing. In
He
a
is
lot of,
so beautiful in this movie. Like
she really is.
it's like scary pretty.
Yes.
Like woo.
Yeah.
And she kind of ends up being, the impetus for James to do a lot of different things in this movie.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Be his normal James Bond self.
Right.
B, retire from being a double O after 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
I
to
mean,
continue on being James Bond.
yeah. Yeah. She does a really good job she's got his number right away. She's got him figured out very, very, very quickly. And, and so she's pretty good. The whole introduction to each other on the train, where she says, I'm the money. And he says, every penny of it. So,
Yeah.
just the whole introduction of the two of them together is really great.
Yeah.
And then I think the best role in this, and she's not in it as much, but Judi Dench as M, being introduced as M is really great.
First M to be brought back from
Right.
different series.
Right. Yeah. So she carried over from the GoldenEye series. She had kind of taken over that role during the Pierce Brosnan. So, which I think was great. There was a lot of controversy about a woman being them, back when that happened, but she is M, and then their relationship, and how cold she is to him, but yet in a motherly, cold way. She's
right.
She says to him, she explains to him what her connections, what Vesper Lynd's connections were to the other organization, and why she did what she did. And he says, of course, in a cold, dispassionate way, she's dead, bitch is dead, or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then she says, well, you've learned your lesson then, and she's like, it's time to go back to work. That's basically,
I don't accept your resignation.
Yeah. So
that's a great call out. She's pretty much the hidden MVP of these movies.
Yeah.
She does such a great job being an older woman that still has a massive presence about her.
Oh yeah.
And then you could see her being the head of British intelligence. So
right.
I really like that call out. So the movie ends with Vesper being the one that kind of betrays James. And
well, yes and no. Yeah.
Right. It's yes and no, but definitely there was a facade put up by Vesper, and it crushes James' love life for about 3 days. But it, like you said, it does teach him a lesson. And it moves into Quantum of Solace immediately. Quantum of Solace is the next Daniel Craig movie.
Right.
It picks up right after, like right at the end of Casino Royale, where James has tracked down Mr. White and shoots him in the leg.
Because of Vesper. She gives him a tip, kind of a dying thing to him, that she sends it because she knows she's traded herself, for James. She basically traded her life for James's life, so she knows that she's betrayed him, but she doesn't have a choice. And so she double crosses them a little bit, so she knows James will hunt them down. So he picks up Mr. White's trail because of her tip. Yep.
And the like my dream location of a vacation in Lake Como in Italy. If I could have a dream vacation, it would be there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And then that would be my dream car. So
yes,
sadly in Quantum and Solace
Beat it to shit.
Yeah, right.
Beat it to shit.
In the span of several minutes, turned my
Yeah.
favorite car into like a shithole. But yeah, right.
And what an opening scene it is in Quantum of Solace. That chase scene is incredible. They again they pick it up right from the end of Casino Royale, so it's the first Bond movie to ever do that.
Right.
Which gives you an idea that this Bond series is going to be an intertwined storyline of movies, which never really happened before. You know, they had recurring characters and stuff, but the only storyline that ever carried over was George Lazenby got married, and then I think it was the first Roger Moore movie. It was like the opening scene. He was at his wife's grave, so it was like that was like kind of the only thread that ever got carried over. But Quantum of Solace ended up being maybe the least liked movie, maybe up until Spectre, of the Daniel Craig Bond series.
Yeah. And
honestly, I think it's better than it gets, what people give it credit for.
Give it credit for it. Yeah. Yeah.
But I watched it recently, and where it misses is in the villain. And this is a conversation we've had plenty of times before about, a villain really makes a good hero. And when you have really strong villains in Casino Royale, Skyfall, and what looks to be in No Time to Die, you're gonna have a great movie. And that carries over into other movies like The Dark Knight and No Country for Old Men. It doesn't always have to be a superhero movie.
Right.
So Dominic Green is the bad guy, and his ultimate plan is to control the water supply in Bolivia to sell it at a higher price. Like, that just doesn't feel Bond villain-esque. It's the guy is the first ever James Bond villain who didn't have like a natural deformity. Even though the online joke is that his natural deformity is his buggy eyes.
Right. Yeah.
Which really comes into play when they're at the opera and he runs into James Bond in the hallway, and he's just like, I know you can't see it, but he's like, he just stands there with his buggy eyes. So anyway, I think that's really where the movie fails, because the rest of the movie is pretty good. The storyline isn't as great, but all the bones are there for a good movie.
Yeah. The problem, the backstory to this problem is this was during the writer's strike. And so they started the movie without a finished script in place. So they started filming the movie before the script was even completed, which I can't think is a good way to make a movie. I don't know. I don't make many movies, but it doesn't feel like that. I mean, maybe that's how they all are. Maybe they write them as they go in some instances, and I could see where that would happen. As things go, it's like, well, this is not working out the way we want it to work, so let's maybe rewrite this or rewrite that. I could see that being the case, but I don't think not having the entire script completed, ahead of time is probably the best way to go about it. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I do think that the writer's strike.
If you apply that to any other thing in our lives, like if you don't have a completed plan, it's not going to work out. Right.
Yeah. So that being said, I do find it to be the weakest in the entire series of Daniel Craig's, and not because of his performance. It has nothing to do with him. And it actually makes me circle back to Timothy Dalton's second film as well, which was License to Kill. And again, through no fault of Timothy's or really any of the performances by any of the cast. I mean, when Wayne Newton is your bad guy, it's kind of hard, but I don't. I thought it was neat that Wayne Newton is like a cult leader. I thought that was kind of cool, but
it's a better movie than it gets credit for too.
Yeah, it's a better movie than it gets credit for, but it's still bad, but it isn't because Timothy Dalton was bad as James Bond. So Daniel Craig gets a sophomore slump. He did say he struggled, although I don't think it came across on film. Uh, he struggled with the weight of James Bond in that movie, because of I saw in an interview that he had, where when he did Casino Royale, he just was allowed to play James Bond the way he wanted to play James Bond. But then when he went into the second film, he had a better understanding of what everyone's expectation of what James Bond should be. And so it kind of changed how he thought of the role. The weight of the role was a lot heavier for him in the second film than it was for him in the first one, because he was really kind of naive in the first movie. And whereas in the second one, he had a better understanding of where he was. So I think at the end of the day, maybe it comes across, but I didn't really feel it from him. I thought he put in a great performance. Olga Kurylenko, was great. Even Giancarlo as Mathis comes back, Felix Leiter comes back, Jeffrey Wright. So yeah, I mean, there's still great cast. They all great performances. I just think the story, like you said, the story just it's not a James Bond story. And really, it just is a continuation and a move to show this quantum group is really who's behind all this, all this stuff. But even quantum is not necessarily the bad organization that you think it is. It's actually a sub-level group of another organization.
It was going to be Spectre, though. They just didn't, it was like the rights issue from previous. They didn't have the rights to the Spectre name, and so they were like, let's just make it Quantum. And luckily they were able to get the rights back before the
two movies later.
Two movies later. And retcon some stuff for it. Which is fine, but it's just that story of wanting to control the water supply in Bolivia, it didn't. I was like,
I mean, not that Bolivia is not a nice place, and nobody should control the water supply in Bolivia. And I think that that's it's a terrible thing, but
it's very terrible.
But I don't know that is MI6 is MI6 in the 00 to solve that problem? I don't know.
Right, exactly. It doesn't
seems
feel
we
like
would just put economic sanctions on the country and be like, hey, you can't really do that,
right. Problem solved. No. End of movie. Movie. Right. What was I just gonna say? It was one of those. It's just not like what you think it's gonna be when you see Bond movies where they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna launch all the nukes in the world," something
right. Yep.
So, but watch it again and see if you have a different reaction to it. When I watched it recently, I was like, "This is a bit better than I remember." So, And then with that, at the end of that, he actually ends up killing Vesper's boyfriend, which I thought that was a weird like, why do we need to revisit that? We don't need to go back on it. So it was just some weird decisions made with that.
I think it finishes that chapter, if you will, just kind of closes the book on that chapter, closes the book on that part of his life and lets him kind of move on, I guess, now that he's.
And I get that, but I didn't think we needed.
We could have gone without it. Nobody would have thought twice. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So many things could have been done off screen for that.
Yeah.
So then we move into what is.
Although, just 1 second, real quick. Yeah. We talked about this yesterday when we were chatting. Anytime that you get a guy to kill himself with a quart of Pennzoil, I think is still a pretty cool way to kill a villain. Like I think.
Yes.
I do have to say,
that's very Bond-like.
Here's a quart of Pennzoil. Walk 100 miles that way in the middle of the heat of the desert, and let's see how you get there. So
walk 100 miles that way after you already put a freaking axe into your foot. Remember, he's swinging that axe and he hits his foot. That is like the most moment in any Bond movie when he does that. God, that part gets me every single time when he hits his foot. So then, drink this when you get thirsty.
Yeah.
It's very Bond villainy.
Very much so. Yeah.
because in that movie, Strawberry Fields, played by the beautiful Gemma Arterton, dies by oil. Like she's
it was very fitting.
Put a bunch of oil over her. So Bond gets his MI revenge.
Yes. Yep.
Then we move into what's considered, it's debatable between Skyfall and Casino Royale, but Skyfall's pretty much considered the best Daniel Craig Bond movie.
It is my favorite. Yep.
It is my favorite as well. I watch it annually. It's definitely an annual watch. It's maybe the sexiest movie I've ever seen, maybe up until No Time to Die, because this movie looks sexy too. But it's just, it's funny because you either love it, it's so stylistic, or you hate it. And I love the stylistic nature of this movie. And
Sam Mendes.
Sam Mendes comes on board. Yeah,
we get Sam Mendes with this, and you all of a sudden get an artist taking the reins. Really, an artist taking the reins of an action franchise. And holy smokes, man! Just the beauty of it. There are some great visuals in this movie
they shot the hell out of this movie.
Just some amazing stuff. The high-rise fight that he has with the guy in the glass building, when he is riding on top of that boat with the Chinese lamps on the thing.
Yes,
just some
going to that nightclub.
Yeah, beautiful
even
set pieces.
When they go back to Scotland and you see the scenery there. They shot the hell out of that movie. And it pays off really, really well in many ways for the cinematography, but also just in the actual I'm losing my words here. Just in the whole the movie as a whole is very stylistic. So we'll move on from that because we just made our point. But what you have, maybe Daniel Craig as a broken down Bond, somebody who in the very first scene of the movie, great action piece. Goes through the city, gets onto the train, gets shot, falls down, and then he goes missing for months. So that was a really great cold open with a new Moneypenny, introducing a new Moneypenny.
Naomi Harris.
So pretty. So it picks up with a broken Bond in Fiji. I don't know, some place like that in Indonesia. And we've never seen Bond like this, where he's a shell of the man he used to be. Even though he's probably still could whoop anybody's ass on that beach. But he's just doing scorpion shots and making love to women on the beach. So that's not a bad life, I guess. Can I have that?
Sounds awful. Like pure hell. I see.
Pull my arm on that one. But
poor bastard.
he sees the news report on the TV, which is funny coincidence that he's in the bar when a CNN is on. But what we see is MI6 has been attacked and blown up, and a whole list of undercover agents names been released, and it takes 47 minutes, I believe it is, till we see our bad guy of the movie. But my God, does Javier Bardem play one hell of a Bond villain?
Absolutely.
His plan is
very sympathetic, very sympathetic villain. I thought,
he is very sympathetic. His plan is very convoluted and very coincidental-ish, and this is maybe the one drawback of the movie is it's just like all of this had to happen. He planned all of this, but and they were very inspired by the Dark Knight movie.
I was gonna say it felt very Christopher Nolan Dark Knight-ish.
They did it well, I think, and it's good, but If there was one drawback to the movie, is the plan was like, that was a lot had to happen. It was like a
Right.
20-part plan. Anyway, it doesn't matter because, like you said, he's a very sympathetic villain. He does an incredible job of making you love to hate him, you know?
Right. So the beginning of the movie starts where Bond is in that room and he comes across one of the other 00 agents who's been shot, and his instinct is to help the guy, and knows that if he doesn't keep pressure on, this dude's going to die. And so because the other people are not going to make it to him in time to save him, so she orders him to leave the guy and get the drive, because the drive is the only thing that matters to her and to the mission. That is the mission, you know. And Bond is resistant to do it because he still has this compassion for other people, you know, that's there.
Yeah,
and
that's that cold M you were talking about.
It is. And you know, and so when he gets shot himself, spoiler alert, and falls down that cliff and stuff, it just and then nobody comes for him, you know. So it becomes, he then sees this, not, I wouldn't say betrayal, but just this, you know, you're just like the guy in that room. It's the mission that's the only thing that's important. And so then later on, you see a guy who handled that same scenario in a completely different way than the way 007 is handling, you know, James Bond is handling that, because he was faced with this same thing where he was sacrificed for the mission, and now all he wants is vengeance and revenge against you know, the MI6 and stuff. So it just is, the contrast there. Again, Sam Mendes put together a great, you know, it's a great story, it's a great cast, it's a great everything. And just watching these pieces, you know, move around, and very Dark Knight-ish, like you said, you know, so it just is super cool to watch the juxtaposition of these two characters and how they handled basically the same scenario, you know, happening to them. One of them knows that I need to get back to England, and I need to figure out what's going on, and I need to help. And the other one, all he wants is vengeance against the woman that he feels betrayed him, you know. And so very, very cool. I mean, and it's what makes Skyfall, along with the other stuff, you know, just one of the coolest things. And that ending sequence with the helicopter, you know, just like laying some fire down on top of that house, it's just super cool. It's just super cool.
So then it also draws from Home Alone.
Yes.
It's a Home Alone, and Bond Home Alone.
Yep.
And this is where the relationship of Bond and M comes to a head, or comes to a conclusion. And we get introduced to Ralph Fiennes. Oh yeah,
who originally kind of, it comes across as kind of a bean counter douchebag, you know, like but then as it turns out is actually a decent dude. So I think they could have done a lot worse with replacing M, you know.
I think they like perfectly did it. Like M's just this character that they carried her over from the Brosnan ones, and it's just like who else could be M? And the way they do it, they set it up, and then the way they have him kind of turn into a person on their side is really well done. They introduce a new Q in this movie. They introduce a new Q to the newer audiences of James Bond and make him a little more relatable. So they make him a young guy that, you know, they have a scene in the museum that says, you know, I do more in my pajamas before you get out of bed on my computer. And so that's like the new age Q. And he's great. He's great. He does a great job with it. And I do like that line where Bond says, you know, or or Q starts it off by saying, you know, every now and then a trigger needs to be pulled.
Right.
And I love the response that Bond says, and he says, or not pulled, because that is like, for someone who's been to in actual war, is like, it's really like not pulling the trigger is the hard. It's
right.
It's very, very tough. So I related to that saying so much.
Right.
Well,
and even going back to Casino Royale, they always refer to him as a blunt instrument, you know,
right.
and that's not.
I think
really...
he even runs through a wall in that movie.
Right.
During the parkour scene, the guy like leaps through a window and he just runs through a wall.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he's a blunt instrument. Anyway, so Skyfall ends with, you know, M's death and Ralph Fiennes' character taking over as the new M, and James Bond, I think he retired and he unretired, so I think he's done in every James Bond movie.
Right.
Or at least in every Daniel Craig movie. But it's a movie that doesn't have it does have, I'm sorry, it has one of the hottest Bond girls. the shower scene on the boat. That was very steamy. She's in it for.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say she's in it for the for the steam. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say that the shaving scene with Naomi Harris,
very sensual,
is one of the best non-sex scenes I've ever seen in my life, and I've never wanted to have my face shaved like that in my life, and I was like, okay, I'll do that for sure. Like,
here, come on.
Yeah, please, just lather it up. I'll
go clean shaven for that.
I'll go. Yeah, absolutely, you can do it all. Yep. So was. And again, Sam Mendes, man. I mean, just
style, man.
The guy, the guy
has style.
Yep.
I was saying that the I forget her name, the Bond girl in that movie though. She's literally just for the steam. Like she has no real importance to the story. So not too much time needed to be spent on her. But Skyfall as a whole, incredible movie.
Yeah.
They bring back some of the, like we said, some of the small gadgets. It's a stylistic movie. Right. That they shot the hell out of, and it really brought James Bond back from a dip in Quantum. Yeah, and then kind of it's like a roller coaster ride with these Bond movies. Is the Spectre movie, which I was so excited for. Yeah, Christoph Waltz as a bad guy, as a Bond bad guy. How do you go wrong with that?
Guy was born to be a Bond villain. I thought. Yep.
Dave Bautista as a new age
Jaws.
How do you go wrong with this? And Jesus. The famous quote from Daniel Craig about this movie is he felt like he wanted to slit his wrists while he was making this movie. Yeah.
I wonder if that was before or after he broke Dave Bautista's nose. So I don't.
It's probably after he's like Dave Bautista's gonna come body slam me or something. Yeah. So honestly, this movie, watching it recently, it's got, again, just like Quantum, it's got some really good bones to it.
Like the opening sequence is probably one of the best opening sequences ever. You know, where he's in that he's in Mexico City.
Yeah, the Day of the Dead.
Again, beautifully shot, stylistic. You know, the masks, the costumes. You know, he's kissing that girl, and she thinks one thing's going to happen. The next thing you know, he slips out the window, and you know, it's like it was just awesome, you know. I mean, just awesome.
The
helicopter scene, you know. I mean, it was just great. I mean, pure Bond, you know. And then I don't know. It just didn't go. So
it's not even that it terrible. It wasn't terrible. It just was like meh. Like it wasn't much to it. And
I mean, it was neat from a nostalgic perspective,
Yes.
to see
Blofeld.
Spectre come back into the fold. I think that was really neat to see Spectre come back. Because if you're really a big James Bond film fan, then how important Spectre was to at least those films in the 60s and stuff like that. So going back to like Thunderball and all those, it was just super cool to have them reintroduced. I think makes it better, because you see it kind of happening in the Mission Impossible movies where they have the syndicate, and so it's like, okay, the syndicate's totally not Spectre. It's not Spectre at all. It's a completely other organization that just does evil things.
It only starts with an S. It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, just a coincidence. Not the same thing. Don't even
Ethan
Hunt is not James Bond. Ethan Hunt is not James Bond. So, but yeah. So.
Right.
I don't know, but
it is good to see. And Blofeld, and Blofeld, Blofeld makes a return. Christopher Waltz becomes Blofeld, and I love that how the reveal of like he was there, like made it definitely marginalized the previous Bond villains, which I'm not always a big fan of, but the way they did it made sense.
Right.
But it just I don't know. It's hard to explain this movie. Like, it's just like, where did it go wrong? It just was a boring movie.
Yeah. And
how do you make Bond boring?
It's hard to come off of, like with Casino Royale and Skyfall, they both were so good. It's like this wave of Casino Royale was so great that it's really hard to go further up, so you kind of have to have these letdowns, and then the next film it's like, okay, everybody's expectations back down here, and then you have Skyfall and it's like, oh man, that was awesome, and then Spectre comes back down. So hopefully we'll continue the cycle, and this one would be good, and
everything's pointing to it. Cary Fukunaga looks like he's one of the next big directors. Like I said, John Watts is coming up. Cary Fukunaga is coming up. So I cannot wait for No Time to Die.
Yep.
I probably won't watch it before the next recording, so I won't be able to kind of give my thoughts on it until maybe a couple weeks from now. But looking forward to it. I cannot wait.
I won't see it till the 22nd. So I got a couple weeks to go. So
I think the one thing that really gives me hope is Daniel Craig. He lets you know when this is going to be good. Like, he wasn't a big fan of Quantum, and he started kind of being, trying to overcome some objections about the movie before the movie came out. He's like, the writer's strike really didn't help.
Right.
He was very praiseworthy of Skyfall, and then the quotes about Spectre came out where he was like, I wanted to slip my wrist making this movie. So go ahead.
Well, I think that's great. I think it's great when actors and when people can be critical of their own stuff, because a lot of times they won't even watch it. They won't even watch it, and they'll go, I don't watch my own stuff. It's like, okay, well,
I know
you not watch it because you're pretentious, or you're not watching it because you really have no interest in it or whatever. Whereas he knows, he's like, this is not working, and we're going to push this turd sandwich out, and everybody's going to be like, oh, you're right. It's really, everybody's going to talk about how great it is. But at the end of the day, I don't like it. I don't like what we did here, because what we did on Casino was great. What we did on Quantum, not great. What we did on Skyfall, great. What we didn't do on Spectre wasn't great, So I think that's, I think that level of honesty is probably needed in more and more stuff, and when you see it and you recognize it, and you can go, okay, this is great. So, and the nice thing about this is we're not saying goodbye to Daniel Craig. We're saying goodbye to Daniel Craig's interpretation of James Bond.
Yes.
And so we will continue to get more Daniel Craig which just finished filming just recently, the Knives Out series. So he's already done Knives Out 2. So we'll get more Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, Detective Benoit Blanc. So which, if you're a big fan of donut holes, you'll like it, because he's got a big donut hole with a hole in.
I do. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And Barbara Barbara, what a name, Barbara Broccoli, one of the producers for the Bond series, said that they will start looking for their new Bond next year.
Yep. So. Yeah, which I think is great. Give everybody some time to finish.
Let it marinate
let it marinate. Daniel. Yep. So okay. I think the leading guys are probably Tom Hardy and I think Henry Cavill are probably your two leading guys, but they may go with somebody who's not even.
I hope Henry Cavill. I think he's great. I like Tom Hardy. I don't think he's right for Bond. His voice, something about his voice is weird for Bond.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Surprise. Great. I'm looking Bond. Love Bond. We could talk Bond all day.
Yep.
But we're gonna do a bit of an unboxing here. Rundown.
We don't normally do unboxings, but
well, we don't normally get boxes.
It's true. It's true. So, nobody ever sends us any mail. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So.
Morgan, get on
it. For all 12 of you people who listen to our show,
Well, we have had some really big episodes, and one of our actually our biggest episode is our Maker episode, which
man, that was awesome.
Incredible episode starring Brett D. King, my brother, and Bill, his friend Bill. So on that, man, they really taped this thing up. On that episode, we saw them use their machinery.
Yeah, they used the Glowforge.
Glowforge, that's right.
Yep, the Glowforge device to you could put like wood or metal or anything underneath of this device, and it would etch in using a laser. It would etch in whatever whatever print or whatever you wanted to put on there. So you could put logos, you could put words, things like that. People use them quite a bit for like Etsy. I think they were saying that lots of people use them on Etsy for like signs and stuff like that for garages or whatever. But yeah, so those guys. What I found interesting is I was talking to somebody else about that episode the other day, and this person is actually really into making stuff. Also, you can buy, and this actually blew me away. So you could buy the one that they showed where they did Thor's hammer, where they did the printing with Thor's hammer. You could buy $150 one of those. Buy the plans for a Glowforge one, and then buy the pieces, the electronic pieces from that separately. You don't have to buy, and you could print the box for the Glowforge, install using that $150 printer, and then buy the parts for the Glowforge and install it inside that. And that way you don't have to spend $3,000 to $6,000 to buy to have that Glowforge printer. Because remember they said it was really expensive for that printer.
Yeah.
You could actually buy those electronic pieces separately, the PCB boards, put it all together, and then 3D print with your $150 one the container and put it all in there, and it'll run. And I was like, holy smokes. The guy told me, he says you could get it for not much at all. You could basically build your own printer using a 3D printer. So wow. I was really blown away. But anyhow, so what they sent us was stuff from the Glowforge, I think, right?
Yeah, so here we go. Ta-da!
Oh man, that looks awesome. That is super cool.
That is super cool. Okay, so let's see.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. You got this handsome guy.
Yeah. Right.
You got this handsome guy.
Look at that beard. It's beautiful.
It comes through so clear.
Yeah. That is super cool. And then Hawkeye, Thor.
Yeah. Then you have the original 6 Avengers. So you have Hawkeye. This is incredible seeing this up close now. Like,
I bet
how this was done. You don't get an appreciation for it until you see it up close. I mean, this is incredible detail through here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you got your own. So we got your own, one for you, one for me. We'll have to figure out how we're gonna
That's so great.
display this. permanently on the show.
Yeah, we'll have to get it into the background.
Bill Poor and Brett D. King. Man, you guys are awesome. We love you guys so much.
That's really, really great. Thank you guys so much.
So freaking cool, man. Wait till you see this up close. The detail is incredible. Like, it's just amazing to see the, like, I can't, like, it's, wait till you see them close. That is incredible.
It's so great. You guys are so great to us. Thank you very much for doing that. We really enjoyed having you on the show, and we look forward to having you back at some point. So we'd love to learn more about that stuff, and maybe do maybe a deeper dive into some of that stuff. And
we got to have more Maker episodes, because that was our biggest episode yet, and it was awesome. So cut. With that, let's wrap up the show. So Brett, love you, brother. Bill,
thanks, Brett. Thanks,
love you too. Like, that's incredible. Thank you guys. That is awesome. With that, let's move to the NRDBox. Wrap it up with a question from Big Morg 3000. He sent in a question about 5 weeks ago, and then he hosted. So we didn't want to do it while he hosted, and then it was like we had a certain episode where we already had a question, and then he hosted again. So he's been waiting a while for our answers on this, and we kind of answered it a little bit last week. But he asks, who would win in a fight and why? Christian Bale's Batman or Ben Affleck's Batman? I'll let you go first, Batman dude. You might already know my answer.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the opposite of your answer, and I'm going to say
being contradictory.
I'm just going to be contradictory.
That's a real Dick Pomeroy move, okay?
Right, thanks. Yeah. I'm going to say that I don't know. I think Christian Bale's Batman would be able to beat Ben Affleck's Batman. I really do. I just think they showed his training with Ra's al Ghul and all that, that stuff. He just was a better fighter. He's lighter, he's a little bit smaller, and I think he'd probably be, but I don't know. We'll see. So, and actually, to tell you the truth, for those of you who don't know, Christian Bale came into Batman about 30 pounds heavier than they actually show you in the movie. So he was actually bigger and bulkier and much larger from a muscular perspective when he showed up to film that movie. And Christopher Nolan told him, whoa, dude, you need to throttle back and you need to lose some weight because you're too big. Like, this is not the Batman that I'm after. So, so that's,
and what's really incredible about that little piece is he was about 100 pounds lighter for his previous project.
Correct.
The Machinist.
Yep.
Like really grossly skinny.
Right. Yep.
And then he put on about a bunch of weight. I don't know the right number. I shouldn't just throw numbers out like that, but went above where they wanted, and then he had to scale back a little bit. So and then he was still like, he was definitely the biggest in Batman Begins. In the scene, he wakes up with a hangover and he's doing push-ups. You could tell he's an in shape dude. So he look, he's not to be reckoned with. But when you got a guy like Bane just beat the crap out of him, I think it's going to be pretty easy for Ben Affleck's Batman, who seems to be the best fighter out of any Batman we've seen. Now, Christian Bale's Batman does some really good fighting, but it's all very quick and very, like, he has that kind of martial arts where he has his hands up like this, and it's a lot of this. And Ben Affleck's Batman, if you've seen the warehouse scene in BVS and Batman vs Superman, you can see he's a badass. And so I think that scene right there is enough for me to just say, look, watch that scene. And that's why we've got a winner in Ben Affleck's Batman. Now, if Bruce Wayne's fought, Christian Bale would probably beat Ben Affleck up. So, good question, Morgan. Batman's becoming more of a theme on the show, and we're getting close to a Batman episode. Probably could have done it around Batman Day, but that came and gone, and I want to talk more Batman, so I think
Well, we still
need
have
to
another
talk
year
Batman.
before the Batman comes
I
out,
know, and
right?
yeah, we have another year before that comes out, and I honestly, I don't want to wait that long to do a Batman episode. So maybe when the new trailer is released or something along those lines for the new Batman, we'll revisit some of the Batman stuff. So
yeah,
because
yeah,
he does his own episode for sure.
yeah. I still stand behind my assessment that Batman changes with what America needs.
Honestly,
You
your
know,
question
like,
about is he the most reinvented character?
yeah,
It's a really good question. One
yeah,
we'll need to visit soon because
yeah,
when you really start thinking about it, it's like, yeah, wow, that's pretty true. So,
yeah.
okay. With that being said, I can't wait for No Time to Die. It's Daniel Craig's Bond's been it's 15 going on 15 years. That's a big part of our lives.
Yep.
And
I remember it was like one of the first Blu-rays I ever saw was Casino
yeah,
Royale on Blu-ray, and it was spectacular. I mean,
yeah,
just spectacular. It
yeah.
was really, really good.
It's been the Bond we needed for this time.
Mhm.
And now where they take it from here will be interesting to see. So
Yep.
I just hope they don't give him superpowers or something.
Yeah.
There's no more Ian Fleming books to adapt. So
Yeah.
the stories will be original Bond stories, and just really hope they don't screw it up. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
but if they do, we still have the great Bond series. I mean, even Pierce Brosnan, listen, he was a great Bond in GoldenEye. It wasn't his fault for the following disasters. Tomorrow Never
Right.
Dies isn't as bad, but it does delve into some really, I mean, the dude is surfing on like a plane wing, windsurfing on a plane wing. It's just, to me, Die Another Day is maybe the worst movie ever.
Yeah,
So
it's just, there's bits and pieces where it's really good, and then there's other stuff where you're like, man, come on, but
yeah,
I mean, even if you go back to the Roger Moore stuff, some of the Roger Moore stuff was pretty good. Like For Your Eyes Only was a good
yeah,
a good Bond movie, where there wasn't a lot of gadgetry, there wasn't a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, he flew a little micro jet, but those are real planes. That's
yeah,
a real plane. He flew it into a hangar, and that's, I mean, it's not like that's never been done. So that was,
yeah,
like, and that's to me, that's the great bit of Bond stuff, that they've kind of carried on this tradition in Mission Impossible 2, is that you usually have one or two practical stunts in there where you're like, holy smokes, I can't believe they did that,
right,
or even going back to the 1960s, with Thunderball, that underwater sequence
yeah,
where they have all those dudes parachute in the water, and then they're all fighting each other underneath. I mean, it's a little confusing. They did a good job of like getting the bad guys in one color and the good guys in another color, so you kind of knew, who was who. But still, it was a little confusing, but it was
yeah,
still an amazing sequence to see that battle. And I think
right.
that's the real tradition, I think, of Bond is the practical effects, the practical stunts, and a great one-liner. I mean, everybody loves a great one-liner. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well, and that I think Bond is supposed to have like some just above normal type stunts, like
yeah,
that he could do.
yeah,
He's supposed to be better than the average dude.
right, right,
So I don't
right,
mind it when they have him skydiving into a plane and then him pulling the plane up and just in
right,
time. Like that's supposed to be
yeah,
Bond stuff.
yeah,
That's what we enjoy.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
love it. Love Bond. Eric, if people haven't noticed, Eric's in a different location.
I am.
He doesn't just love birds all of a sudden.
Yeah, oh, yeah, right.
Eric's on vacation, so thank you, Eric, for joining us while you're on vacation and taking
Yep.
time away from that to join us on the Nerd Rundown. We love it. We love you. We love you, Brett and Bill. Thank you guys. This means more than you
Yes.
guys really
Yes.
will
Thank you
ever
guys so
know.
much.
And I'll
Thank
get
you.
you yours, Eric, so that you can display yours somewhere.
Yeah, you
And
need to show me your new truck anyhow. So.
yeah, I do. So with that being said, thank you, and we'll see you next week on the Nerd Rundown.
All right. See ya.